Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. We're here. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And with that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsors.
Organic herbs and botanicals, skincare and edibles, wellness for body and mind. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies. Ronald Records. From indie gems to classic hits, discover the heart of local music. With live shows all the time, up close and personal, and regular releases on their in-house label. Ronald Records. Supporting the community, one track at a time.
All right. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, shout out The Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
Hey, my name's Hunter.
Hello.
Hey, how are you, Jimmy?
Oh, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about, who you are, where you're from, what you do. Give us that Tinder profile of your involvement with music.
You got it. Well, my name is Hunter Love.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a music producer, and most of my work is in music licensing specifically. And I'm based in Vancouver, Washington.
Gotcha.
I
Hey.
do a lot of commuting in Portland as well.
Oh, boy. Yep.
We have to.
Yeah. As another Vancouverite, Vancouverian.
Kentuckian?
Oh, is that?
I don't know.
As another member of the Vancouver community,
Right.
I fully understand.
Good.
And what got you into music initially? What was the start for you?
Well, I had a ton of friends in school that loved jazz. There was after school band programs that I wanted to be a part of. And so the first instrument I took on was alto saxophone. And so I have a heavy jazz background. And so a lot of the first decade of my musical journey was just playing in jam bands.
Now, when you say heavy jazz, do you mean just comp play?
Oh, right. Exactly. Just playing free jazz. No.
You're just that one song from War from a Harlot's Mouth?
People are like, what the hell? No, yeah. It was a lot of just before everyone showed up to school, we would have combo sessions and we played, a bunch of the real book and
Gosh.
like that. So yeah, it was fun. It was good times. And
what instrument did you play?
I played alto saxophone.
Oh, right. Sorry.
No, that's okay. And during the day too, I went to the local magnet school here in Vancouver, which is Vancouver School of Arts and Academics. Shout out. They gave me a really good kind of foundation of learning how to love my craft and just kind of helping me set up for higher education, which I ended up pursuing after that. But even before saxophone, I was writing songs on my guitar and things like that. So
Gotcha.
Very, very first instrument was acoustic guitar. So
okay. Yeah. And was anybody else in your household musical at all? Any of your family members or siblings or anything like that?
Funny enough, my dad loves good talk radio, so he wasn't a huge musically inclined. However, on that side, he was a huge proponent for 89.1, which is our local jazz radio station. And
KMHD?
That's right.
Oh, yeah. Shout out Bryson Wallace. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I listened to that every day, just everywhere that I would go after school, in the evenings. That was just something that was always around. So kind of see where that background really came from.
Yeah.
It was always on in the background.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then, from high school, I just went straight into college. I went to Western Washington University, and I went to school and was I'm just going to be the best jazz saxophone player. But there were a lot of hard truths that kind of hit early on.
In the world of jazz, that is the boldest statement you can make.
Right.
Yes.
Because I came in and I was doing a lot of live performance during that period of my life. It was every week was at least something, one thing, whether that be going to jams or showing up to house parties or anything like that. But wasn't. That's when I started to really understand that's not really why I got into music.
Mm-hmm.
Was performing. It wasn't really to show off for anybody. It really kind of came down to the songwriting for me. So, I never stopped songwriting during that time.
Mm-hmm.
No, I will not show you any of those songs.
Well, surprise! We actually have.
And roll it. No, but yeah,
Play the clip.
please no. Yeah, and that just progressed over those 4 years. Was very, very important period of. I mean, every year is important so far. I'm still pretty early on in my career, but that period of time was when I learned about how I could move in that space as a musician, what I really wanted, and just all those goals. So it led me to look more into production, having it heavier into songwriting, and really mainly was the business. So I ended up getting a bachelor's in music. I got some minors in music business, and I did that whole engineering thing too. So I did quite a lot, but I really landed on production at the end of that. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, I dig that. That's cool. Now, before we get into more of what you do with it now, I do have a couple foundation questions I like to check in with everybody.
Yeah.
And this first one is one we ask early. It's one we ask often. It's definitely a crowd favorite. What was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
There were 3 on that day.
Okay.
Yeah. So can I give you all 3? Okay.
I mean, that counts.
And there is an order.
Oh.
I don't want to be the guy who's like, no particular order. No, there was an order to my favorites. And I'll go from like third, second, first. The third one was Big Willie style.
Okay.
Will Smith.
Yep.
baby.
Yep. How appropriate for right now specifically.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That freestyle. Hunter has an opinion about that freestyle. Let me tell you what.
Well, we actually have Will on the phone.
No. Here's my quick side note. I feel like the beat was mostly the issue with that freestyle, but it's cool that Lyrical Lemonade does that, and Will gave it his best shot on that beat. So
yes.
Anyway, Hunter has opinions.
So
so that was Big Willie style. Was that record? Burned that CD out. I can't even listen to that CD anymore.
do you still have the original version of it?
Oh my God, of course.
Oh man,
I can't get rid of those things.
To the light, is it all just?
Dude, it's scratched.
Ripples?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yep.
It's burned out on a couple of sides. Skips a ton. That's probably the CD player that I still had. Anyway, regardless, the second one was John Mayer's Continuum album.
Okay.
And that was
Oldie but a goodie.
Yeah, it was oldie but a goodie. It kind of introduced me in a way to blues specifically, and I went down a rabbit hole for quite some time through that, and that was a fun experience. But favorite record off that was Slow Dancing in a Burning Room. And my number one, which is one of my most influential records for myself, was Traveling Without Moving, Jamiroquai.
Hell yeah.
So I think that is like the coolest record as a young kid to find.
I mean, that's the coolest record as an adult.
I know, it's right?
Anything Jamiroquai is going to be good.
Yeah. And I mean, it's cool just to see where all of those CDs kind of like led me to. I love Will Smith, and that led me, of course, to like hip hop, and that's a whole conversation there. And all of them had their own little things, but yeah.
Remind me off camera to tell you a story about the song Star Child by Jamiroquai.
Okay, yeah.
All
right, good.
Not quite for here.
Okay.
But getting back into it, what was one of the first live shows you ever went to that was like specifically one you wanted to go to?
I don't know why I feel like kind of embarrassed to say this, but it was what were the Black Eyed Peas?
Okay.
This was when like Boom Boom Pow came out. I didn't see a lot of concerts growing up early on, or at least that I can remember, but that was like I went to the Tacoma Dome to see that, and not only did I fall in love with that band and like a lot of major pop during that time, but also discovered like a fear of heights, because like it's steep there. Oh yeah. At least the last time I was there, which was literally 2008 or whatever that
project came out. I can't remember, but it was a good time. Fair enough. Fun fact, one of the first shows I ever saw, I saw in Seattle, which in my head is their neighbors.
Tacoma.
It's like, that 1 hour commute, no big deal.
Yeah, I bet Seattle loves to hear that from you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Ooh, yeah, no.
Yeah, no. That was where I saw one of my first row concerts. It was Ozfest.
What was it?
2005 or 6.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, the headliners were insane. So, I mean, obviously, it was either Ozzy or Black. I think it was Ozzy.
So different from what, I started with.
Yeah, well, that's like, he's got to be there because it's his festival.
Yeah, of course.
But then it was, in order of appearance for the headliners, it was Mudvayne, Black Label Society, In Flames, Iron Maiden, and then Ozzy closed it out.
Was there a better concert that even came after that?
I mean,
your taste has changed probably, but
that was
a great concert.
That was a big moment for me for sure. I mean, also the second stage was cool. It was like headlined by Rob Zombie, As I Lay Dying, Arch Enemy, like so many cool names. But yes, I've seen a couple more since that. I was that I'm not going to say who, because anybody who loves those bands will hate the other ones. But I've gone to some cool ones. But we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you. And before we officially get into the now, do you have a defining moment where you decided you wanted to take music more seriously?
Yeah, there was a pretty, there's always multiple revelations that kind of happen through an artist's career.
I would hope in music people never stop having those moments, but like
absolutely,
Was there an origin one where you're like, aha, this is it?
There was one where I remember watching. I was like a music video. I don't know why it sparked it for me, but I was super into Robert Glasper at a time, and there was this song that had Jill Scott called "Calls." I think it was one of the songs. I think it was like a song in 7/4 or something like that. And I just remember listening to that, and I was like, "Wow! Like this is an incredible piece of art, and I wish that I could make art like that." And that kind of sparked of like, well, how can I make art like that? I don't have the technical ability at all.
Yeah. And
at that time, I think that's where I was like, maybe I need to go to school, pursue higher education, which for me, that was very important for me. And maybe I could do this for a living. Maybe, if they can make incredible art that I just fall in love with like this, like maybe I could do it too. So that was probably like sophomore of my high school.
Okay.
Time, so
pretty pivotal moment in life in general.
Yeah. It helped too because a lot of my friends wanted to do the same thing. So we kind of all were ushering each other into going into higher education and pursuing a music degree too.
Oh yeah, and then it sounds like you had a household that wasn't against it either.
No, oh gosh, yeah. I'd even talk about my mom's side. I mean, she was all into choir and things like that.
Okay, so
my family's separated a little bit.
I gotcha. I understand that.
Jazz radio on one side, but my mom loved neo soul, and so we listened to a lot of. I mean, speaking of Jill Scott, Erykah Badu, a lot of Soulquarian movement. That was incredibly important to discover. Can you see kind of the through line with Jamiroquai and kind of the D'Angelo and like the Roots and things? So yeah, it was.
Man, the only thing I can't understand is the John Mayer part of it. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. John, if you're watching, you're all right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, him with the Grateful Dead right now, that's kind of an interesting. I mean, I see the through line a little bit.
I get it. Also, like
he's having his moment
for a group like that.
How could you not?
Well, they have a generation. They have a generation. You know what I mean? Like there's
multiple.
There are, but that generation has kind of dwindled a little bit. I think John is going to be a cool way for them to kind of get kind of another round of them on board.
Yeah.
Also, like you said, I mean, who wouldn't want to?
At least for a little bit.
Yeah, if you're good enough that the Grateful Dead's like, hey,
calling you up, you're going to answer that call.
Yeah, it was like when that dude was the singer for Journey. Like when they were like,
remember his name?
I don't.
Anyway, you got to always introduce fresh blood when it comes to some older bands. So
yeah.
I remember Earth, Wind, and Fire did that at some point. They keep anyway. Yeah.
But let's go ahead. Let's get on into more of the now. Now, usually this is where I ask, how'd you pick the name? Now, obviously,
That's my name.
That's your name.
Yeah.
But you are, I imagine you have some kind of team or company that you're kind of attached to in primarily what you do.
Yeah.
And am I correct in saying that that's Formation Sound?
That is, yeah.
How did that name come about?
Formation Sound itself, kind of an unsexy way to figure out what a name is for a business, but we were just asking friends and looking up what IG handles could because we didn't want it to be like Formation Sound 07 ABC. It was like, we want something very clear and direct and that you really can understand. So Formation Sound is a production and licensing company, plain and simple. Part of our job is to create music, have that represented to brands. And this is something that we're really trying to work on within this last couple months too, is starting to sign on artists besides Farnell, me, and a couple of friends close to us as well. So, and it's been great.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Now, in the realm of production, can you describe how you define production just for the people listening at home?
Yeah. Production is, I mean, it's the backtrack, it's the instrumental when it comes to, you're supporting your artists. So, for me, what I do on a day-to-day basis is I work with top liners or artists, or songwriters, kind of all the same in at least my perspective as a producer. And I create the world behind them. And then once, I think a major strength of mine is vocal production. So I work very, very closely because I'm also a singer. Before I really got heavily into production, and truthfully, I still do sing and all of those things. I wear many, many hats, as we kind of all do.
Yep.
But yeah, I really am the one that's kind of creating the world behind everything.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
So you're still heavily making music still.
Oh my gosh, every day. Yeah, for at least, 5 to 8 hours a day. It just depends on the productivity that happens during the day.
Yep. Demand of the project.
Yeah. I mean, for me as a producer, most of my day is songwriting. I'll come into the studio around 9 or 10 and I won't stop writing songs until 5 or 6.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's wild.
It is.
Let's go ahead. Let's knock out some of the. Let's get the tech talk out of the way. Let's just do that now, just so it's here. And sorry to everybody in advance. I know this isn't always everybody's favorite part, but it's mine.
Good.
Let's get the basics out of the way. What DAW are you using? What is some of your primary pieces?
Yeah, I as a beginner before I knew anything, I was starting on GarageBand. I've always kind of been in the Apple ecosystem. Tried Ableton. I know you're on.
That is
Ableton.
Currently what I'm on. Although I did start on Logic 8.
Ooh.
Yes. Went all the way up to 9. Bought books on how to use it. Became violently capable at it. And then the computer I was using that was running OS 10.6.8, which was the last one that 9 could live on. It died.
Oh,
and I
worst.
the only way I could get it going again was to put the newest OS on it. So I hated.
Had to see it go.
Logic X.
Yeah.
And when I worked at Guitar Center, Ableton was giving free versions of standards.
That makes sense.
So I loaded up and I've been there ever since.
Well, funny enough, I hated Ableton. So, it's each their own, right?
I didn't like it at all until I was okay, it's the only one I have. Let me figure it out. And then I figured it out and I was like, oh. Yeah. But yeah, it's not for, there's a reason why there are so many.
They all kind of have their own little things. Something that I love about Logic is, to me at least, it's intuitive.
Yeah.
It's great for songwriting. And again, that's what I do every day.
Yeah.
I'm playing guitar, or mostly keys, honestly, at this point now. And it's very intuitive when it comes to mixing, which is also a majority of my time. So
Logic is also there is so much. I wish I had taken the time and spent the money to get X and just actually learned it, because now I'm finding out about all the cool under the hood stuff.
Yeah.
That has always been the bread and butter of Logic. It's crazy how much under the hood, Apple is just like, you know what, we're just going to make it do
we're just
1,000 things, and we're going to give you no menu option to get to it.
Right.
No, if you don't buy this book,
unless you know all the
hands,
exactly.
That was what
just saying that earlier.
Third of the book was. If I can find it, I'll send it to you just so you can have it for your wall. I have
do it.
Copies.
Might as well, dude.
It's very much that is logic.
Like I said, I've been doing this now for like 4 or 5 years, every single day. I take the weekends off. I try to treat it like a job, but
God, that would be nice.
Right. But like I'm still learning things every single day when it comes to that. But yeah, Logic. I did have actually a class on Pro Tools. Hated it.
I can't.
I got beef.
Nothing wrong with whatever you choose to use.
Oh no! If you are using, no, I'm just kidding. Pro Tools was very unintuitive. Maybe if you're comping vocals or recording. I have friends that work and are very well accomplished. Obviously, that work in Pro Tools. Nothing wrong with you. It's just you chose the wrong DAW.
See, I find Pro Tools is best if you're in like a outboard gear realm mostly.
Totally.
And like if you want your mixer to run through it to record to it and then come out through it so you can do all your stuff to it.
Yeah.
It's a great recording brain.
Without a doubt.
Also, I don't know why Ableton doesn't have it, but Pro Tools does the like trim to first transient. God, what a handy feature that nobody else seems to have. It drives me nuts.
I know. They're all different, but all the same.
Yeah.
Our setups all kind of like evolve through the years. I just went through another major evolution within my setup just a couple months ago. I had kind of a significant change. I was at the old studio near Fort Vancouver. It's called Bocce Recording Studios. It's a major talent has been through there, and it's been there forever. But now I have a studio down in downtown Vancouver, Washington, which is super fun, super cool because restaurants and whenever we're schmoozing artists or guests, they can grab a hotel downtown or we can take them out to eat. So it's
and Ronald's Records.
Shout out Ronald's Records. Yes.
Ronald. I always throw in the S at the.
Is it not Ronald?
Yeah, it's not Ronald's Records.
Well, they need to change it.
Yeah. Well, I don't think John's dad's name had an S on the end.
Oh God, I got it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
shout out to Ronald Records.
Yes. So yeah, it's been great. I've been finally got my first rack mount gear, which is always fun for a producer. You kind of want the hardware a little bit. So
board gear.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. The box is great.
Yeah.
But putting your hands on knobs, nothing better.
This is maybe a little snobby of me, but there is just definitely some differences when it comes to sound with hardware, analog gear and digital gear.
And this is just my thoughts on it. Like, there is something magic that happens, not so much in the box itself or at the source or at the end, but the point where the cable connects to the input or output. There's something in there, this little transference of electricity that will do something different to the sound, even if it's the same gear.
Right.
If it's in a different room, different currents pass through, there's something magic that gets added on, especially back in the day when like people were using tape.
Yeah.
And like the heads were just picking up the electricity in the room.
Yeah.
Like there's a magic. There's a magic in there for sure.
And not that I did not know this before this conversation started, but you are just incredibly knowledgeable about your gear. Honestly, you know way more than me. I mess up when it comes to handling my gear. So I think there's probably some user error when it comes to dialing my compressors and my EQs or whatever. But I think it's something to be said about like not it being perfect.
No, well
it's not a preset. There's nothing to start with.
Yes, that and in the realm of like plugins,
right?
Like, yes, they are supposed to be emulating equipment, but a lot of times they'll like add in these extra things that the hardware didn't have, or like they'll make that like the rules of the settings kind of follow this general stuff. Whereas in hardware, a knob is a potentiometer. You know what I mean? It's supposed to tell something based off a variable degree, and not all of them are 0 to 100.
Right.
You know what I mean? Some of them have a spot in the middle. And like, even then, even every like pot that goes in, there's little anomalies in each one. They're not exactly.
No, they're not all the same.
They're made by a machine. So yes, there are. And also, like, you can't just like turn a knob and like watch like an instant result. Sometimes you got to turn it and just feel it with your ears.
That's very important.
Yeah. And that, I mean, you know, it kind of goes to what we were saying off camera about the, like mixing with ears and not eyes. Like in the world of outboard gear, you don't get a lot of option otherwise.
No.
It's entirely that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not entirely. There's some with screens, but for the most part.
Don't buy those.
I mean, you can't.
No.
You can.
Listen, I'm not no live house engineer, so I have no. It's a completely different art form.
No, trust me. I big fan of production gear. Live, I'm a big fan of less is more in that realm.
That makes sense.
We're not here to talk about me still. Here to talk about you. And I guess, like, what are some other like key components? Like what interface are you using? What monitors? Like,
yeah, I think you were talking about UA earlier. Big fan of UA stuff. That's something new for me. I was using like earlier an Arturia Fuse Studio. Not a lot of people used that.
Oh, they didn't market it well, but God, they are very capable.
Yeah, very capable. And I liked it. There were, with Arturia, a lot of their hardware kind of has some quirks to it. It feels like a Volvo.
Yeah.
Like if you compare it to a car a little bit. Oops, sorry.
That's actually a great description of it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been great. I've been using the Apollo X6 or something like that. It's not like the newest generation or anything like that. But, gear just needs to get the job done because a lot of my day needs to get to the creativity.
Yeah.
And it's just a tool. So that I really have downgraded quite a lot of my other things. I was working at Bocce and I was using really fun, microphones whenever the need arose. And I would have artists come to my studio, but that's not something I do anymore.
Yeah.
It's much more closed off, and that's very intentional. And so really I'm only rocking an SM7.
Okay.
Again, I'm not doing a lot of vocals myself. It's probably like 10% of the time.
Yeah.
Because some of my catalog is with me doing vocals as well as producing it. But yeah, I mean, it's really toned down. And I think it's honestly for the best, getting back to the roots of working with solid things because, that microphone is very solid. A lot of people got it.
Oh, I have opinions about the SM7.
Ooh, pray do tell.
So many
Give me a little snapshot.
All right. So, and again, we're getting real in the weeds with this one, y'all.
We're having fun.
The SM7B. Obviously, it's got the attached history of the SM7. Michael Jackson came in and made it a big deal to the world.
Yeah.
And as a utility microphone, it works on more things than most other microphones. But what it is not is the like godsend of if you put something into it, it comes out sounding amazing.
Yeah.
It is the most malleable microphone. It is very flat. What you put into it is exactly what comes out, and it gives you a lot of room to manipulate it from there. It's very wide range.
Yeah. I have something to say to that a little bit too, because I come from the jazz background. Like there was a common excerpt, I think it was maybe from like Charlie Parker, who's an alto saxophone player. And he was known for having a drug problem. And he would sell frequently like his horn to buy drugs. And there was something where someone made a comment to him and he was saying like, it doesn't matter about the horn or the gear that you're using. It's about how you use it. And very much the case for like that microphone.
Yes.
If I would love to have one of them Sony, what's the one that every vocalist wants to use?
Oh, I don't even, I know what you're talking about.
Like a $20,000 microphone. But the case is, I don't need that.
No.
Most listeners have no clue. And you take a look at like Billie Eilish. She made some of her biggest hits off of, this microphone. So you're totally right. It's very utility based, but what I work on is very utility focused.
Yes,
So.
and for what you're doing, especially needing like a wide variety of opportunity, it's a
Totally.
in the world of music, it is a great microphone to have in your locker.
Yeah.
It is not my favorite spoken word microphone, though.
So what's your favorite? Oh, I kind of want to interview a little bit too, because you're so knowledgeable.
Good. We can go back and forth. So, I mean, honestly, I fell in love with the SD1s, not because they're the ones in this room. Universal Audio, please sponsor me. I loved these because they sound like what I used to EQ the SM7B to sound like.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't love these on everything musical. I would never use these on a hi-hat. I'll use a 7B on a hi-hat all day.
Yeah.
It sounds incredible. But for spoken word, I really do enjoy these. But if money wasn't an option, I'd probably get me some RE20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
There's just something about the way that they capture voice.
Yeah.
And that, that's the realm I primarily have to. These don't see too much outside of the room anymore for music related things. But yeah, I've really enjoyed the RE20s.
Mm-hmm.
Neumann has a broadcast mic. I can't remember the name of it. That's actually really cool.
I'm gonna check that out.
But it's far out of my budget. But then if I could get my hands on anything,
what would it be?
and I'm blanking on the model now.
Oh no.
But Audix has a broadcast microphone.
What's special about it? Is it just?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's Audix.
Yeah.
They just make amazing stuff. I'd take an i5 over a 57 any day of the week.
Yeah.
But it's just from everything I've heard about it, I haven't been able to go down there and try one yet.
Soon.
Yeah, I would love Audix. I'm coming down there soon. They're not far. They're I think 45 minutes south.
They got a cool warehouse.
Yeah. But yeah, something about the way it sounds and the way it looks.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the classiest looking microphones I've ever seen.
Yeah. I remember there was a time where I was able to go through their facility, and it's cool because they have a whole stage literally set up and everything for you to test out these microphones. I can't remember. I'm so bad with microphone names and all of so much gear to remember.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, you have to go check that place out. It's really cool because they let customers come through.
I'm trying to get down there. I just recently got a hold of their set of drum mics. That comes a D6, an i5, and then two of their pencil condensers.
They're weird microphones.
I love the i5. I don't like the D6 for bass cabs like everybody.
Isn't that the flat microphone that you?
No. You're thinking of the AKG, the D112.
I might be.
Or it's not
I don't know, man.
littler. But the D6, it's a very, very sought after mic, especially for bass cabs and kick drums.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine for me for kick drums. Not a big fan of it for bass cabs, but that's because I always like the Beta 52. But really getting into it, I mean, I do want to try and move us away from
talking gear
just a little bit, just because I want to kind of keep through on some of this. But before we move all the way out of it, because this is a question on here.
Yeah.
If you had to pick 3 mics as your mic locker, and you can only have 3.
Yeah.
What 3 would you have?
I definitely would keep my SM7B.
Of course.
Just because it's such an easy microphone to use. I think it's the Sony C800 that I would use for any vocalist walking through the door. It's such an stupidly expensive microphone that has just incredible high end.
Yeah.
And it just I've never heard something that has a clearer tone to it. So something to be said about that microphone. The third one, 3 microphones. Third one, what would I use? So much of what I'm doing is within the computer, even with drum samples. So I'm never really recording a lot of something like that. So I don't know. Maybe I'd kind of flip this on you a little bit and ask you, because a lot of my catalog I was doing, especially the last 2 years, I was doing a lot of Motown Hitsville records. What do you think I would use for those? I mean, that's the...
Probably want to use something warmer. So you'd probably want to use something tube-based.
tube.
So like what was it? The Neumann is not the U87. There's the Neumann U47. Again, I'm the worst with names too.
Yeah, I like the U80. Go ahead.
Tube bass would be a good way to go. So like there's Warm Audio obviously makes their own version of it. So like I feel like something like that would be cool. Obviously an older U87 before is the U87i. Although I don't stand on the U87 in general. I'm a much firmer fan of the TLM49.
This is funny.
Neumann.
For the past 2 years, again, because I just moved studios, I was using some modded U87, and maybe it was a user thing. I don't think so, but I didn't really love the tone.
The U87 is kind of like how the SM7B is, as far as like it can give you kind of anything.
Yeah.
And also because of the multiple polar patterns, and I mean just Neumann being above and beyond.
Incredibly versatile.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong.
It can do a lot. It has a sound, though. That's
yes.
like a lot of people
always fought that sound when I was.
And that's how I feel about the 7B on spoken word.
So funny.
It has this like gurgle in the low mids that I've heard on every single podcast that has a 7B.
Don't take this advice for people who are listening, but that is something I've noticed is I'm always cutting a little bit of low mids.
Yeah.
I have the.
Well, that and just with the timbre of my voice, like with the way that it is, it didn't get along with it well. Like it was something where I was always having to move it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think for that, like that's probably where I would lead you towards, or kind of in a weird twist. Something, I mean, like, what was the big, it looked like an SM81, but it wasn't. It was like the long, kind of pencil condenser-y looking.
Was it a ribbon mic?
It might have been. I'm blanking on it now, but there was something that like people were using before. Also, weirdly enough, the SM57 kind of made an odd space.
Oh, why don't I pick that one? I mean, that's another utility-based.
Mic.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's going to be my
pick. If you have a 7B, you don't really need a 57.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't pick a third one.
Nearly the same capsule.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's fair.
I just remember using those a ton on when I did record live drums, a lot on pretty much the entire drums.
They're affordable. They're built like a tank, and they are what everybody's familiar with. Now, again, like I was saying before, shout out Audix. I'm a firm believer that the i5, for nearly anything you can use a 57 for, I'm using an i5 for. So I love it on guitar cabs. I love it on snare. I mean, even some vocal applications where it's a little more of an abstract choice, they're fun to use. And then if I'm not going that, even before I get to the 57, I'm using EV's ND46. Ooh,
never heard about that.
An EV mic. There. Oh God, man, I saw the picture of it in my head and it went away. There are some older EV mics that I think would be really cool for that sound that you're looking for as well, which you should dig into their mic catalog if you're not too familiar with.
Honestly, I just need to dig more into microphones. I mean, again, it's always been about having these as tools, and I've never seen like microphones or gear to be very creative things, but they're here for a reason. Like it's not just because of tools. It's not.
Well, the mics, I think, are one of those things where it's like, as long as you're in the realm of recording sounds, it's great to have a small variety of them because they do all the colored microphones. Even though they don't work on everything, when they hit in a way that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure you're familiar with the brand Blue. This was in my early recording days when I was just trying to bring people in. I had a small handful of mics, as well as I was able to borrow stuff from Guitar Center. This was way, way back in the day.
Can I guess what mic it was? Was it the Snowball?
Ooh, close, but no.
Okay, all right.
No. So I was working with this dude, and he had brought me some demos, and I was like, "Hey, man, I like your sound. I think it's cool. It's good." So he comes in, and we're trying to record him, and I think I was using like a 214 at the time, or I wasn't using a 414, but something in that.
Nice. I like those.
Yeah. And I mean, great on every other vocal I've recorded.
Yep.
But on his, it just wasn't landing.
Oh, weird.
And so I was like, "Hey, man, just out of curiosity, how did you record your vocals for these demos?" Because like nothing else in it sounded great, but his vocals sounded like pretty spot on.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh, I just used my Blue Spark."
Oh my!
And I was like, "You got to be kidding me!"
Oh, isn't that like a USB microphone
the
or
LE?
Oh, okay.
Being that one came out as the USB one, but it was prior to the USB version.
All right.
But it was like their budget one. I think it was the contender with the AT2020 essentially. Yep. And so but just his voice sounded great.
Yeah.
Like I do not like Blue. I love you. The Blueberry is one of my favorite mics of all time. Also, shout out to the Dragonfly. Dragonfly, we're saying things right here. But yeah, the Spark, I couldn't stand it. It was my least favorite like budget condenser microphone for everybody but him.
Dude, it just goes to show that it's not really about the microphones that you're using.
No. Well, in a way, it's not.
Yeah.
Because there is a right microphone for everybody. There are utility microphones that work great majority of the time. So your 7Bs, your U87s.
But the one that's the best doesn't have to be $10,000.
No. Actually, if I could build a perfect vocal mic locker,
what would it be?
It would be 7B, obviously, because it just goes anywhere. The Blueberry, and then the TLM 49. Those three mics cost the same as a U87 in total, but all three of them together. And that's including the cloud lifter for the 7B.
You got to get the phantom power in there.
And you are going to be able to cover everything.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to take care of anything with those three mics. And in my humble, lightly educated opinion.
Very educated. Very educated.
I'll meet you in the middle, somewhat educated.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I never went to school for it.
Yeah, you got a ton more knowledge than I. I mean, I almost flunked out those courses because of one thing or another. I still have such a difficult time figuring out how to do patch bays themselves. But
I love patch bays.
Signal chain, I don't know how you do it.
I love patch bays.
You people are wizards to me. You guys got the whole 88 Trident consoles going on. That's how I tried to learn on that. I flunked that class.
See, I wouldn't want a 1,000-channel mixer at this point. Like,
you just don't need it.
Yeah,
unless you're Jacob Collier or some crap.
Yeah, unless you're recording symphonies, it just looks cool and takes up space. But I'm sure it's got great sounds too. But yeah, I would much rather go small board, or honestly, I'd much rather go capable interface. Like I was mixing with an LI08 for a while.
How's that?
Metric Halo's like $3,500 interface. That made me rethink how sound worked.
Really? How so?
Well, I had gone from a Sapphire Pro 40, which was like their like $500 8-channel Firewire.
Yeah, man.
You remember the old technology. So I went from that to the Metric Halo LI08.
Big upgrade.
Huge.
Yep.
And I remember going, because, and when you get a new interface, the first thing you do is you go and listen to old mixes. You're like, I know this one so well. I'm sure I'll be able to know some kind of difference, but it won't be phenomenal.
I have a question for you. What is the mix ref?
Well, like I said, I like first pulled up like projects I'd worked on, but like when I have to when I have to hear how something sounds to like understand its full range.
Yeah, what is it? What's the song?
On the Way to Harlem by Gregory Porter.
Oh my God, what a great record.
That one is the one I use for figuring out live sounds.
Yeah.
There is a oh my God, Flatbush Zombies track.
Oh my God.
That I used to test subwoofer.
So different.
Well, like it's got.
I love your range, man.
Well, the track, it's like an interlude track almost. Like it's an in between. It's off of a 3000 a Laced Odyssey. I'm the worst at names, but I think it's 3001 a Laced Odyssey. There's this like track in the middle that the low end on it was bottoming out 18s at Guitar Center. Like, I'm not saying it went all the way down to 20 hertz, but I'm saying it damn near went down to like it was the perfect subwoofer track.
Do the whale sounds.
Yeah. And then and I know I told you, ask me this off camera, I still have to tell you this part of it off, but another track I would use for reference all the time was Star Child by Jamiroquai.
There you go.
Because it would come in with the top end stuff.
Yep.
So you get to hear the stereo range, you get to hear kind of the shimmer, the sparkle, and then, like 20-ish seconds in, the bass comes in and pushes everything a little bit.
Yep.
So that was like how I would really like get my range. And then Night by Night by Chromeo.
Oh my God, love Chromeo.
I have seen them live like 3 times.
Yeah, I just saw him live.
Oh
yeah, what'd you think?
It was a like, hey, I'm Dave. Yeah. Like I didn't get to like hang out with him.
No, they're good people though.
Yeah.
I went to I think one of their concerts like maybe last year or something like that with a friend, and they put on a great.
For being a duo, they crush it. I got to see them at the Greek in oh my God, Bay Area. I'm blanking on where it was. I'm just the worst. I'm
losing it.
Sorry. Yeah. I haven't been there in too long now. But I got to see them there, and it was like an outdoor venue. And oh God, who even opened before them now? It was some crazy electronic act.
Fun.
But then they came out and just
ripped it.
Destroyed. Yeah. Their sound is untouchable. Their stage presence is massive.
Set designs are cool too.
Yeah. Well, and it's so open. Like I remember they had just these like tower of moving, like wall of moving heads, and it went all over the place. And it was after they started doing the chrome guitar. So he's
you got to see the strobe light going on.
Yeah.
Right.
And the legs. The legs on the stands. That is just such an iconic thing that they could literally have nothing else. They could go anywhere they want, set up anytime they want. If those are there, it's a chromeo show.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
That was a great record.
Yeah. Oh, Fancy Footwork changed my life.
I know you are a big fan of funk.
Yes. Well, that was when I found out about Talkbox.
Yes.
So I found out about that, and then
fangirling over Swatikins a little bit.
Swatkins. But that was, I found their CD and I was listening to it, and like shortly after, my friend was like, "Do you know about Roger Troutman?" And the rest was history. Once I found out about Zapp and Roger, I was like, "All right, this is what I am now." I play bass and I do Talkbox, and I'm happy for it.
I love that.
Yeah. That was a very pivotal moment in the world of Jimmy and music. But as I've said many times before.
I'm sorry, man. I love a good conversation. It's good to learn about you too. So
now I want to ask you a little bit about like your experience in like a day to day.
Yeah.
So, like what does so if I were a client, I wanted you to work for me to do some stuff.
Yeah.
What would that look like initially? Like set up a scenario for us and kind of take us through what the beginning phases look like.
Yeah. Well, here's where I'll start is, early on in my career, I did a lot of client work, which was a lot of fun. It also taught me a whole lot of experience and exposed me to new genres that I wasn't really well aware of. And that was really, really important for me. I did that for the first couple of years, and I made a lot of really great friends from that as well. Still friends. But as of recently, I'm not doing any client work anymore.
Interesting.
What I do is I run Formation Sound with Farnell Newton, and I am working on my catalog and servicing that with a bunch of licensing agencies.
Gotcha.
So, that's why you take a peek on my social media or you'll take a peek on Spotify and you won't see anything. It's because it's not really my priority is releasing music, nor is it to produce for other people. So really the crux of what I'm doing is writing records that like how artists write records. And I, instead of releasing them, I will house them in agencies that represent that music to sell to anything and everything. So a majority of that time is TV shows. Sometimes it's advertisement. Sometimes it's on your phone, on social media, and sometimes that's placing music with bigger artists, and they call that song plugging.
What was one of the weirdest advertisements you got a song placed in?
That's a really good question. One of the first ones I got that, I'm trying to think if there was anything weirder than that one. One of the first advertisements I was able to get was something really, really cool and really different. Was from, I think it's Lakai Studios. It's based in Portland.
Yeah.
Or Stop Animation, or I forget how, is it Stop Motion? Thank you.
Yes.
That's what it was. And they were doing a 15th year anniversary for Paranorman. And I was able to have my song be in, the promo to, tell fans like, thank you for 15 years of Paranorman. So the video itself is Paranorman dancing to my song. And it was really cool.
Whoa.
About maybe a 10-second or maybe a little bit less. But not only did I see that video come out that day, a couple days later, there was the video of Justin, I forget his last name, I think it's Justin, who is the animator, and you're seeing him in real time over the course of, I think it was like a couple of weeks, if that's how long it takes him to animate, even a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
And so to see just like the hard work that he put into that, was just incredibly gratifying. It really sparked my love for like what we do. Cause, a lot of the time it's like Google placed or licensed your song and it's, promoting Google Pixel. And that's really cool. It's, it feeds my family, but something to be said about connecting with someone on like an artistic level like that.
Yeah.
It's just different. So that doesn't happen a whole lot.
No. Well, that is a super cool one. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
And actually, now I want to take a moment. Then I want to kind of segue into talking about some of your music.
Okay.
Since we're in that realm, anyways, because I know you don't do it primarily, but you've got some.
Yeah.
And I checked it out, and you got music going all the way back to 2021, so it's nothing too old, nothing too new. But your sound is funky as hell.
I do love my funk, man.
Oh yeah, the guitar is chucking, the drums are dancey, the production is tight.
Thanks, brother.
But the production isn't the redeeming quality, because like sonically, it sounds great. But it's good music.
Thanks, brother.
Like at a music point. Like, again, this is the realm of music I kind of mainstay in. So like, I'm not saying I have like opinions when it comes to it, but like I have a love for it. I have a root.
Let's pause for a second and tell me your honest thoughts. What do you think about those funk records?
That's exactly what's coming.
Okay, I'll shoot. I'm like,
exactly what's coming here. And like, I appreciate the variety of tracks that you have. You got some smoother stuff, you got some bouncier stuff, you got some stuff where you're doing your thing. And if that wasn't enough, you happen to have a feature from the man himself, Matt Randall. Which shout out Matt. That was when I saw that, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that this is going to be good because that man does not mess around. He only stands on business. So if you were good enough to get a feature from him, you had to be doing something solid.
Yeah, I love that record. What was that one called? What was that? Do you remember what that record? I can't remember my own records, man. I make too many
names. I'm the worst with names.
Oh man!
But actually, I was listening. Usually, this is
all good. I think that's what it was called.
That actually sounds right. Yeah. But usually, this is where I would talk about your most recent track. And while
I can talk a little bit about that, but you've never heard it.
Well, the one that's up there, I'm really like that, is a cool track.
Yeah.
I'll give credit where it's due. I actually want to ask you about a different one.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we're gonna go to that Temptation album, and because I mean, the whole album is great, big
man.
It's actually it will be added into my rotation now. I really do enjoy it.
That's really sweet of you.
But I want to know about the track Body.
Yeah. Is there a specific question that you had about Body?
No, I mean, like I was really, because I mean, again, talk about parts, so I was connected to it amazing. But it's tight, it's sharp, it's got attitude. Like it felt a little bit more like than the rest of the album in a cool way.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of curious, kind of like if it's not too far in the past to remember, how did that track in particular come about?
That was a really important record because that was the single that sparked the entire record.
Whoa, okay.
Not only was...
see, I knew it was worth asking.
Yeah, I know. Man, I love the fact that was the one that you picked on that record. They're all my babies,
Well, again, it's a no-skip album, so any track is a great one, but
very sweet of you.
The one that got me.
Body was really the single that launched my career in licensing specifically. So it's very important to me because that was like I said, that's the starting point.
Yeah.
And that was actually not produced by me.
Oh,
that was produced by a man named Graham Barton. And also, and both of them are local. Graham actually lives in Michigan now. But David Katz, and it's so funny because I was just talking to David Katz, and he's both are producers, both are incredible musicians and have incredibly successful careers. And they both took a chance on, me. And I didn't really have an understanding of what, let alone the licensing landscape looked like, but really just music in general. And at that time, which was, what year did that release? At least a couple of years ago.
The album came out in 2022.
2022. So that was really my first year of trying to understand how I was going to be able to do this financially. And so when I first started, so remember, like back in college, I wanted to be a saxophone player. By the end of college, I was like, I want to do production. By the time there was a couple years, right? 2020, that's when I graduated college, to 2022. I was working dead-end jobs, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And like I said, Graham and David gave me a shot, and I wanted to be a top liner. Top liners are songwriters are basically the people that are writing songs and trying to get them placed any which way they can. But funny enough, I didn't even write that record. They pitched me that record and I fell in love with it. What cracks me up is that original demo too. Graham, who's an incredible singer, he was the one singing on that. It was in a different key and a different tempo, and these guys bent over backwards just to work with me. And it was just like, they didn't have to do any of that.
Yeah.
And there's so much love for those guys because not only did they give me my first song, but Graham specifically was the one who taught me how to work in sync. He also helped me finish that entire record. And I really have to give up quite a lot of my early beginnings to him. So he, just to promote him really quick, he has a business called Sync Beast, and that's a program for musicians who are looking to take a next step into licensing. Folks that might not necessarily be at the start of their journey in licensing, but are trying to figure out really how to press extremely hard into that. And so after that record, he took me under his wing, and he educated me quite a lot, mentored me, and helped me improve my mixing, my production, my songwriting skills. I mean, it was pretty much every facet. Not only that, he really opened up the doors to Portland's scene in licensing. And so that's how I, met Ryan and Bob and the staff at Marmoset. And I knew Farnell at that time already, just because he was a jazz musician and I wanted to be in that sphere as well. And one, two, skip a few, now we're here. But
yeah, I got you.
It's a long answer.
I got you. Hell yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that.
I'm glad you picked that record.
I'm glad I picked that one now too, because most of you may or may not know this. I don't do a lot of pre-asks. I really try to do my homework to make it a fun conversation so I can ask things. So it worked out well.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Now, before we move into the next portion, I've got a couple more. And this one is just this. I just always want to know this for everybody. Yeah. But what are you listening to right now? What's inspiring you at the moment?
Yeah. Like you said earlier too, you listen to a lot of music.
Oh yeah.
It's our job. My job is to listen to a lot of music. So
it's just bop on repeat.
Primarily, I work in pop, I work in hip hop, and I work in funk. And so those are some very major genres that I try to stay tapped into.
Those are big genres for this area.
I know, man. They're huge. And so thankfully though, that means that I have a ton of songwriters and top liners that I get to hire on my records. So right now I am listening to Playboi Carti's new record. It's all right. I think it was a good record. Nothing like some of the older ones. Hunter always has opinions.
There's our new segment just for you on the show called
Seriously, man. I'm trying to be better about being honest with some of my opinions because I do have a lot of them.
Fair.
Especially musically, dude. Loving Chappell Roan's just newest single. I think it's called Work, or I can't remember what that one was called. Just incredibly catchy, and I'm super just happy to be alive right now with her coming out with her music, so I can see that in real time. I'm getting back into. I had a brief for the past couple of months that was centered around Young Franco and Kate Renata. Young Franco is an Australian. Oh, dude, you would love his music. It's
I'm familiar.
Oh,
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I've been writing a lot of music. I did 8 songs for James Garden, funny enough, also Michigan-based guy. We flew him out for a couple of days to record with him, and I'm just in the revisions right now of that project. But so yeah, I'm in the middle of Kate Renata. I come to work every day. I'm bouncing on my seat as I'm doing these mixes.
I can only imagine what working on Kate Renata's music would feel like.
It's very man. I'd love to work with Kate Renata. That would scare me half to death, but that's probably good.
Yeah.
So I'm listening back to the Timeless record as some references, and we did a couple of one-off tracks in the style of Lizzo, About Damn Time and To Be Loved. So a lot of like disco and 80s influence just on the side. I don't know. A lot of what I do is trying new things out. Of course, those records were huge and licensed really well. So yeah, part of my job is to take those records and kind of look around, do some market research, and be like, okay, how can I do that better?
Hell yeah.
I might not do it better, but I give it my best shot and artistically do it the way that I would do it. So,
hell yeah, I dig that.
Yeah, that's not really a new thing, but that's like work-wise, that's the latest thing that I'm like super dived into.
No, totally.
Playboy Cardi is like my thing that I wanted to listen to. So.
That's fair. That's fair. And then before we officially move into the next part, do you have, or I'm sorry, we've talked about, your experience with music, the actions, the reactions, but when it's just you and music one-on-one, what does music give back to you?
Escapism. That's something I think it's always been for me. Everyone deals with their own things in life, and music has always been something that has allowed me to jump into various different worlds. I love a good TV show, good movie, good video game, and the reason why I love those like entertainment and media is because it allows me to hop into different worlds. Yeah. Same goes for music. So something I love about my job is like last week was the K-Tronada stuff. Now I'm working on stuff in the vein of like, I don't know if you watch like White Lotus.
I haven't seen it yet, no.
But that was
I don't watch much.
That's okay. I do. I have to though. I watch a lot of TV. That's what I do. So
yeah.
But that music for that TV show has been pretty hot for culture in general.
Yeah.
I'm in the TV space, so I'm doing a lot of like house. Tropical house, kind of got some flutes. I don't know. It's kind of different from a bunch of other stuff. So, but we keep it fresh all the time, and it allows me to escape into other worlds. So, and I love that,
Hell yeah. Yeah, I dig that. All right, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to some hypothetical questions.
Do it.
And for these, sky's the limits. The questions are all made up, so the answers are allowed to be as well. Now, obviously, I know you don't actively work with a ton of people all the time outwardly anymore. But for this, we're going to act like you do. So, first question. If you could work with any one person, the only requirement is they have to be alive. Who would you want to work with, and how would you want to work with them?
I already have this name, but I do have to say, every single song I work with top liners.
Yes.
So they might not be people that are coming to me and pitching songs, but every single song that I am working with, I do have top liners or songwriters or artists as well.
You are still working with people.
Always collaborating.
Yeah.
Willie Nelson.
Oh, hell yeah.
Listen, I don't even write country music, but your boy got to give it a shot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to with anybody.
Do you want to know a secret? That dude used to be in Vancouver, Washington. He used to be a radio DJ when he was a teen.
Whoa.
Yeah. And
I know that.
Yeah, dude. Actually, he was nearby by about 5 minutes from here.
Oh wow.
I think it was like Kazakh Radio or something like that. I can't remember what the radio station. It's still here.
Oh my God.
They have a recording studio in there too.
Yeah.
You probably have been there.
I actually
there you go.
I almost got this show on there, and I couldn't narrow it down to once a week.
My goodness.
And I couldn't narrow it down to like a just guaranteed 30-minute window. So I ended up having to pass on it, but I if it's the one I'm thinking of, which
it is.
Again, blanking on the names of things. So
I think it was Kazakh Radio. But they also have like a studio in there, and he for a very short period in his life traveled and lived here in Vancouver, built up an incredibly high like local audience, and then tried to get Kazakh to like give him a ton of money. They were like, no, we don't have that money. He's like, all right, I'm out. But he also worked at Bocce, I believe. And so that was the old studio I worked out. So rep Willie Nelson. I don't know. There's just a lot of like quick history that he was here in this city, and I just think it would be fun to be able to do that. Plus, like, he is an icon.
Yeah, very much so.
So I don't think it gets bigger than Willie Nelson in that genre in that high regard. But yeah, that's
That's a great answer.
Probably my answer. Yeah.
Great answer. And then subsequently, who's a local artist that you're aware of that you haven't gotten to connect with yet, but you would like to?
Someone that I just finally met that I've been looking into their career for at least a couple weeks. It hasn't been crazy super long. Has been, I think, Alana Rich.
Oh, yeah.
And
Taylor's wife.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I just discovered her. I'm not like on social media a lot.
Yeah.
And she's already got like, a great following.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. She's doing big things.
Has she been on the podcast at all?
No, but Shane has.
Okay.
Shout out to the Brothers Apothecary, which
there you
is
go.
off camera in this thing. But yeah, he's
that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Got to get her on this. But I met her because I put on every quarter with Formation Sound, a mixer for artists to just meet up with each other and learn more about licensing. Exactly. Just a mix. So
no puns intended.
Yeah, right. She finally showed up and we just had a quick little conversation. And so I actually owe her a couple of songs because I don't have any of my songs online. So I need to show her that this is what I do. Gosh. And so hopefully that I'm pretty sure that'll come through. But
there's a site that somebody sent me their album through so that I can listen to it for a tuned in episode. So I can't say who it is yet. But it lets you like private listen.
Was it disco?
No, it's something else. I'll have to look at it. I'll let you know afterwards. But
okay.
It was cool because it's like you get to listen to it. I think he gets to like see you got listened to even, but like it's not like downloaded things. So it's like it stays in the realm. Well, and the UI is really nice.
You'll have to, if you think of it, let me know. Yeah. Normally I've operated on disco.ac. That seems to be like, at least on the licensing side, a pretty like industry standard website, but I'm always looking for
I'll let
new things to try.
I will be looking at it very soon. So I will definitely, when I see it, I'll be like, oh yeah, let me tell them about it. So I'll let you know what it is.
But just to lift her up, like she's just been doing some incredible work.
Oh, very much so.
It's always gotten much better. Her production value is really high, and and again, like I love vocal production, so she's put a lot of thought into that, and so I just hope that maybe I can help in some regard with that. So
hell yeah. Well, everybody, you know what to do. Add her in the comments. Let's see if we can. Let's push that along. And then, if you could work in any studio, where would you want to work?
Any studio,
or let's say we can expand it maybe to like any like team even.
No, I think Rick Rubin's got that studio that's out in Hawaii. It's like Shangri-La Studios.
Yeah,
that's a bucket list, of course. It's a beautiful spot. I'm a sucker for greenery, and I think like the less distractions in my life, the better. That's why I work predominantly in the box, even though Hunter just got some studio gear. Don't at me. But Shangri-La, from the pictures and the interviews that I've seen when Rick does his interviews, it's just they're beautiful, and plus a ton of like important bands have passed through that. So locally though, there is I hate that I forgot it. It's not the Holocene. That's a venue. There is this recording studio near Powell, like a couple blocks away from Powell. And it's like a renovated church. I think it's owned by a guy named Josh, if I'm not mistaken. And it's just the most beautiful studio ever. A ton of amazing gear. I can't believe I'm not remembering the name, but I toured it when I was 16 years old, and I was like, one day I'm going to record in that studio, so I probably, if I wanted to now, I could just text Josh and be like, hey man, could I use your studio? But I don't need to right now. So
hell yeah, I dig that.
Maybe one day.
And then to wrap up the hypothetical questions, if you could get one more album from anybody, they could be alive, they could be dead, they could have not put out an album in 100 years, they could have put out an album yesterday.
Yeah.
Who'd you want to know?
Ask this question.
I do.
And some of these questions I'm like, oh yeah, I probably would say that. And this is not something I couldn't even prepare for. So it has to be like completely off the cuff. I want to like not think about any of the genres that you know what? This is someone that I have been kind of disappointed with for a while in the pop scene. And I wish that they would get their shit together, to be honest with you.
Fair.
So and that's Justin Timberlake. You know, I grew up on Justin Timberlake, and the magic that not only Pharrell Williams and JT had, but to put that aside, then to have Timbaland, and JT have hit records as well, and that going crazy, and then
him with Lonely Island and
not that record. I did love that. That's a great song. That's peak SNL.
I'm sorry, I couldn't pass that one up.
I think he just needs a return to form. So, you know, I think that would be something that I would love for him to stop doing whatever he's doing and having a midlife crisis and reel it back home to where you had it. And that was funk. And that was some sexy things. You know, bring that sexy back. What happened, man?
He is kind of at that point in life, though. You know what I mean? Also, he may be hitting in like an Andre 3K scenario.
Oh, man, don't bust out the flute. Please don't bust out the flute, man.
Oh,
I was talking about this with my wife the other day because she was like, what is Andre 3000 doing? And I'm like, getting Grammys, I guess, off of flute music. Did he win that Grammy? Do you know if he won?
I'm not sure offhand. Although fun story, and I think I've only told this like once or twice on the show. I remember seeing that the album came out.
Yeah.
Like I remember like the day of, I was like, oh, cool. Like I'm like, I have to listen to this. I didn't hear anything about it yet. I had seen like one or two like ha-ha-y comments about flute. And I was like, oh, well, maybe he's got like some kind of instrumental thing going on in it. Like it'll be fun. So I get home and I'm like, you know, it'd be fun. It's a Friday, vibing.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put it on, hop in the shower.
That's fun.
3000.
Yeah, right.
Like, I'm not worried about having to skip a track.
Oh God. Little did you know.
So I like turn on the water first and hit play. You know what I mean? Like,
oh wow.
I get like,
you've had full 100% trust.
So I get in there and the first track comes on. It's just, and I'm like, all right, well, cool intro.
I almost fell out of my chair.
We're doing it. And then in the next song, and I'm like, what is that? I listened to the whole album.
Oh my God, you did? How long was it?
You're asking the wrong guy. Really.
Okay, all right.
But I listened to the whole thing because I had to be sure.
It was a flute record.
I had to be sure what I was hearing was correct.
Yeah.
And it was.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
I mean, he spoke on it afterwards and I get it. And I'm willing to like respect his feelings on it. But yeah, that was not the Andre 3000 record we were hoping for.
Yeah, I mean, we were hoping for like Atlanteans.
Yeah.
You know, well, maybe not just Atlanteans, but you know what I mean? Like that type of.
We're hoping for bars, first of all. You know what I mean?
We're hoping for at least some bars.
Yeah, we're hoping for some words in there.
I'd love to like give you one more if that's possible.
Please.
And this is something that like was, I mean, I listened to her from a very early age and it's just been way too long that we haven't heard a record. And that's Erykah Badu. Like, to bring her up again. She's done some features and things like that, but she did this project, I think it was like an EP back in 2015, 16. It was just was so good. So I think that she's still in her prime and
she's working on new music right now.
Don't lie.
I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on it full on, but I think she is. I feel like
I hope you're right.
I think that's why she's been touring again, because she's
that would make sense.
Coming out soon.
But
again, don't quote me on that. Somebody fact check me in the comments. Put it in there if this. But I feel like I heard something about her working on something new. So you may be able to get that.
One of her
before Frank Ocean puts out another album, we may get another Erykah Badu album.
Dude. And all of those records are going to come out before GTA 6.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. Yeah, you know, one of the background singers, too, I just want to, like, give a shout out. I think his name is, like, Bernard Durand or something like that. He was on the Kaytranada record, Timeless. And that's one of the most, like, interesting voices I've heard in a minute. Just incredible technique, but also just like artistically so interesting. So I don't know, just that's a recommendation if you're ever wanting to dive into a new voice.
Oh, always.
Yeah.
Always. All right. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. I don't know if this question directly applies to what you do actively, but Is there anything coming up that we can look for in the next 6 months?
Actually there is.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah. And I never am able to say that just because I'm so closed off with the work. But with Formation Sound becoming more of a, catalog itself, we're trying to build a lot of community within the area, being able to have these mixers. We do these quarterly, and something that I just maybe not be like, it's not a Formation event, but this is something that Farnell, my business partner, is putting on, and it's a sync up event. And it's a little different because it's an educational event. It's in June, early June, I think June 6th or 7th. And basically we are going to have a panel, and it's going to be very educational about licensing in general. What is licensing?
Yeah.
You get into that because, I wish we had another hour just to even talk about all of that. But if you want to learn more about licensing, please go to Formation Sound and check us out. And we'll be able to we will be posting that event coming up here pretty soon. We just had our mixer last weekend, so it's a little late to go to that, but in a couple months that'll be coming up. And yeah, more details to be coming soon. So
oh yeah, well, definitely looking forward to all that. For this next one, go and look straight at your camera. Tell everybody how they can find you.
You can find me at Hunter Love Music on Instagram, or you could go to also Instagram and go to Formation Sound. Follow both of us. I might not be posting regularly. I'll check DMs regularly. I'm always communicating in the background with artists and things like that. Always trying to find new top liners. For Formation Sound, definitely check us out. We post every day, both on posts and stories. It's a great way to get engaged in the licensing community, ask any questions that you have, and maybe get your music repped. So check us out.
Oh yeah. And then any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you'd like to put on while you're on here?
No other plugs.
But I was gonna say, you've covered a lot of names.
We covered a lot of bases, but I just want to say thanks for having me on, and thanks for doing what you're doing for the community. It means a lot to a lot of people here.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Can I shout? I'm gonna shout you out.
Oh, thank you. All right, now with that being said, I've got one last question to go.
Okay.
Before we do, I'm gonna steal the camera for just a second. As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, the final question, and this is entirely up to your interpretation.
Got it.
In all of music, what is an album you feel is more on the obscure side? So it's a bit of a deep cut. It's one not a lot of people would know.
Yeah, this is one I've
I've
been thinking about this one.
Yeah, when you think
I love this question that you're ending on too.
Oh, it's kind of my favorite one.
It leads to just such good catalog diving, for people. So
One day I'm going to pay somebody to go through every episode and make a playlist out of every rec.
that's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah. Taking applications now.
For me, again, I'm a saxophone player.
Mm-hmm.
I come from the background of jazz, so I'm gonna have to say Juju by Wayne Shorter. It's an old record. One of my favorite songs on there is called Yes or No. But that entire record is very obscure and just really important, at least to the evolution of me as an artist. So
Hell yeah.
check that out. That's a great record.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you for that rec.
Of course.
And you know what? Since I lightly mentioned some of it earlier, I can't remember the name of the album now, but that Gregory Porter album with On My Way to Harlem and Lion Song, that's an album worth listening to.
Check those out.
Oh yeah. All right. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and get up and out of here. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And this has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Hunter.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
That's a wrap. This is not a podcast. This is a show.
Keep jamming.